guys. Alright, so this is a little different, but I'm trying to switch it up a bit. I will officially be starting a YouTube channel. I'm pretty excited about it. The last time I made a YouTube video, I was 11 and I was like just learning how to play guitar. It was really bad. It was really bad. At that time, like I was just learning instrumental, and so I wasn't singing and I didn't have the confidence to sing yet. So I was literally just eyeing you down, trying to play the song. It was pretty bad. But I feel like everybody goes through that phase, especially in middle school. You just uncover some wild shit. We were on one in middle school. On one. But anyways, I just wanted to start a channel. I wanted to create a safe space where we could learn from each other, learn with each other, grow with each other. Today I'm going to be sharing about my mental health journey and some of the personal things that I've gone through. This year was not easy for me, and so I think the more that we open up spaces for people to talk about their struggles, the more that we normalize not being okay is okay. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the solution, and I want to contribute to that message. It's okay to not have it all figured out. So anyways, before we get into that, I thought what better way to start a huge conversation like this than with Japanese food. I mean, come on, look at that. Look at that. Pot stickers. Let's see. We got some fried rice. Ooh! Best believe I'm gonna dig into this. The place that I have continuously gone to for Japanese food, I think, has the best fried rice I've ever had. Ever. And I know my fried rice dishes. Have you seen my hair? No shit. I've tried multiple different restaurants. This specific restaurant that I went to tonight, I think has the best fried rice because it's moist and it's not dry. And it's really hard to find non-dry fried rice that still holds its flavor. So anyways, I'm gonna be digging into this. Sit back, relax, grab some food, eat with me. Let's have dinner. All right. So, like I was saying before, this year was pretty difficult for me. And I'm not one to name drop, so I won't, because I still have respect for this person and love for them. I was really close with someone earlier this year and much of last year, and they kind of betrayed my trust and shattered my reputation. It was really hard because I felt really powerless at the time. And I didn't think they were gonna do something like that. And so as a result, I kind of developed a huge amount of anxiety. Anxiety has been a very new thing for me. I'm a very outgoing person. You know, I'm very confident. And so having to be put in a position where that no longer existed was really hard for me. Just kind of relearning how to love and how to interact with other people after going through something like that. And so luckily I had a great support system around me, good friends, good people, and enough people around me knew me where they could differentiate rumors and drama and, unfortunately, lies and that kind of stuff. That kind of relieved me in a way, because it was like, even though there's all this drama up in the air and lies being spread about me, the people that I'm closest to know who I am, and they know my intentions, and they know that I'm a good person. And that's it, you know, it's making sure you have that kind of support system. And so anyways, you know, after going through something like that, I had a really hard time with trusting people. During that time, I was very angry. I was very hurt, scared, paranoid, very anxious. If I heard like a really loud noise, I would get freaked out and start crying. Like it was bad. And so experiencing all of these things where I no longer was or felt in control was just really eye-opening. And I kind of had to relearn how to gain control of my feelings, because I've always been a very introspective type of person. You know, I want to know why I feel certain ways, and I recognize patterns in my behavior. And so those patterns were no longer consistent. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm losing myself. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I've learned that there are 4 strategies that are very effective in helping navigate through trauma, especially from relationships, friendships, romantic, dating, whatever. The first one is that not everyone will hurt you. That was a really hard thing for me, because I noticed that because this trust was broken between someone I really cared about, I no longer had that same capacity for other people to make mistakes or for there to be any sort of inconsistency. If someone said something and they didn't actually mean it, I would go nuts. and I would get triggered and I would get scared and I would get very defensive and kind of just like, what are you talking about? I was constantly in a state of being very aware and not trusting people's intentions. And so I realized that one of my triggers was when people would cancel plans. Because of the trauma I went through earlier this year, I was having these outbursts where I would project onto people closest to me, people I didn't know very well. And it happened throughout my friendships and my dating life where I would just snap. And I'm not a snap type of person. I'm not a naturally angry person. And so I've had to really work on recognizing the patterns in which I have an outburst and trying to prevent that from happening and trying to work through the fears behind them. I think because the situation earlier this year was so out of pocket, the way this person kind of switched up on me, I kind of knew like not everyone's going to treat me this way. But my body and my anxiety wasn't always able to recognize that. So sometimes in my head I'd be like, oh, I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm hearing that they have to cancel a plan with me, which is fine. But my body would react in a very different way and I would snap or something would trigger me and all the feelings of when I originally dealt with the trauma earlier this year would come up, even though I'm dealing with a completely different situation. And so I've learned through therapy that it's important to recognize that the past is different from what's happening now. And a lot of times, like, unfortunately, people have had to be on the other side of me struggling, you know, and they have to kind of take the hit. Sometimes that will happen, you know, when we heal and when we're navigating and trying to unlearn these irrational fears. You know, it takes time and it takes understanding, and sometimes you will make mistakes. And so understanding that, you know, A, not everyone will hurt you, and B, that sometimes there is a pattern you can recognize and learn to recognize within your fears that can help you to prevent projecting onto other people. The second thing I learned was the power in waiting. I'm hungry. Ooh, look at that. Look at that right there. It's got some pepper on it, some peas. The second thing I learned was the power in waiting. And so specifically in my situation, I always freaked out when commitments were being broken because the largest commitment in my life at the time was this person. And so when that was broken, I kind of felt like I couldn't trust anyone anymore because I trusted that person the most. And when that trust was broken, I was like, oh my God, who do I believe? How can I believe someone else now? And so I learned that there was a lot of power in giving space to situations and triggers. One of the things my therapist has advised me to do is that when you start to feel triggered and you kind of recognize it, because sometimes you can kind of feel it, just kind of waiting and not reacting. Because for me, there's been moments in which I feel like a certain emotion that comes on very strongly, like anger, and I can't differentiate, like I can't stop and analyze whether or not it's worth getting angry over. And that used to not happen. I'm not a very angry person, but I'm very paranoid now, and I'm very cautious and aware of everything that goes on around me now because of what happened. And so that was like one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given. I've always been a very inquisitive person. I've just been very curious. I need to know the answers. I mean, that was always me from the time I was little. I always needed to know answers and the directions in where I was going. And so kind of releasing control from that and just allowing space between those really strong feelings and the actual situation before you, it's really helpful because then it gives you like a day to recognize whether or not these feelings that you were feeling were actually rooted from what was being presented in front of you rather than a response to a past trauma. And so that was very helpful information for me, and that you don't always need to know the answer and you don't always need to react. Sometimes it's better to just wait, collect yourself, and then revisit the situation where you can think a little more clearly. Look at this pot sticker, by the way. Fried, it's so good. The third strategy I learned was learning from mistakes. And there have been many times where I've snapped at a lot of different people who didn't deserve it, and for situations that didn't even warrant that kind of a reaction. You know, I try to be as empathetic as possible. And so when these new anxieties started appearing, I was no longer the same. And I'm still trying to get back to that place of just allowing love to lead the way. And I've always been that person. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate that person because I'm sure they're working through things. You know, the only reason that people act out is because there's something else going on. That's always the case. I would feel awful when these outbursts would happen, and it would be like an hour or even a couple of days where I would be sitting somewhere and I would just be thinking, and then suddenly it would hit me like, oh my god, I totally snapped at this person. Why did I do that? How did I not know that that wasn't right for me to do? How did I react that way, and how was I not aware of it? Just kind of going easy on yourself, because we're all learning, and healing is a very messy journey. Healing is not a linear path. As much as social media likes to glamorize it with journaling and candles and bathing in sunlight and whatever, you know, it's not linear. Anytime anything major happens in your life, or anything that's important to you, if anything matters to you at all, it's going to affect you. And the last strategy for navigating through trauma and trying to unlearn toxic habits is just making sure that you're healing on your own terms, and that you're defining what that looks like for yourself, not social media or your friends or even your family. You know, healing is really your journey, and it's honestly, it's your responsibility if you're looking to build and maintain healthy relationships in the future. And that's why I'm in therapy right now. You know, that's why I have so much respect for people who go to therapy, because it's not always for when you're struggling with some huge life trauma. Sometimes people are going to therapy just to sort things out, and it's really amazing, and I love that. And it's a bit of a sidetrack right now, but I do want to kind of shout out the people who go to therapy to just kind of get a sense of guidance. I think that's so brave, and I think that's very courageous of you to do. Yeah, just to review, 4 strategies for navigating through trauma regarding past relationships, and that is that not everyone will hurt you, and not everybody has intentions to hurt you. And 2, there's power in waiting, and it's not always necessary to respond right away. By allowing yourself space between what you're feeling in the moment, which can be very heated and very different from what you might be feeling towards the situation an hour later. That is very helpful, effective, and smart. It's very smart to allow space to process your feelings. And number 3, learning from your mistakes. It's okay to make them. And then 4, healing on your own terms. Social media loves to glamorize, gloss things over with like a cute filter or a cute sound in the background. Healing is not like that. It's messy and it sucks. Sometimes it sucks. It's hard. But as long as you're willing to take the steps to improve yourself and to recognize unhealthy behaviors and patterns, you're gonna be on the right path to having the strongest and the most foundational relationships you could ever have. Those are strategies that I'm still learning how to use and that I'm still practicing, you know. And so yeah, that's it. So thank you for enjoying dinner with me. It was very good. And yeah, I'll see you next video.